Hi there, and welcome to the MiamiHal Real Estate Show. Every single week, I bring somebody that is influential in what's going on in Miami or with real estate. And today, I've got a great guest. He is president and CEO of the Beacon Council, probably something you haven't even heard of, and you're going to learn about that. This is Michael Finney. Michael, welcome to the show. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
So, Michael, I've known you for several years. You're a quiet man, but I kind of say you carry a big stick. There's a lot of things that you have your hands on in the pulse of Miami and the surrounding area, correct?
Well, I would probably say I'm not as quiet as I am private, and I just enjoy getting a little bit of time alone to just enjoy my family and a few close friends. But the reality is, in the work that we do, we really have to touch the entire community. It requires us to get to know literally tens of thousands of people in this community. And it's been very interesting over the last 4.5 years that I've been here to really get to know the community.
So we're going to go backwards because we need to start where people probably don't have the knowledge that they need. You are in charge of a group called the Beacon Council. And that is just in and of itself an interesting group because it's not governmental and it's not private, it's somewhere in between. So let's talk about how that group started and what its main purpose is.
Yeah, so the Beacon Council can best be described as a public-private partnership. So we have great partnership. We're the official economic development partner for Miami-Dade County. And that has been in place for 36 years now. So it's a long-term relationship that the organization has enjoyed with Miami-Dade County. But we also have nearly 200 private sector companies that are members or investors in the organization that support the activities that we do. These are companies that really believe that economic development is important for our community. And an organization like Beacon Council is the best way to deliver on economic development in the community.
Got it. And so 4.5 years doing this out of the 36. When you first arrived, what was the state of the Beacon Council and what is your stamp that you're trying to put on the Beacon Council and the future of Miami-Dade County?
Well, Beacon Council has a really good team. And for the most part, the nucleus of the team that was here when I arrived are still here. And so I really feel good about that. My job was not to come here and be a disruptor and, change the organization out, but rather to take some incredibly sharp, talented people and really start looking at new opportunities for Miami-Dade County and get us positioned to be a community that was sought after, so that when we go and work with companies that are around the country or around the world for that matter, we want them to look at Miami-Dade County as a desirable place for their business expansion. And so that's the work that I've been doing with our team. But we've also started to look to initiatives that are somewhat out of the norm for economic development organizations. And I'll describe a couple of those for
Please.
you.
Yeah.
Programs like Miami Community Ventures. It's a workforce program. And we're not doing it in a silo. We're doing it in partnership with CareerSource South Florida, our academic institutions, and a lot of businesses, and of course, Miami-Dade County, who believe that it's important for us to have living wage job opportunities for some of our more economically distressed individuals. We're in the process of launching a small business accelerator. Normally, our work is focused on larger established companies. But now we're working with a significant number of small businesses, and I'm talking companies with fewer than 10 employees.
Wow.
And less than $500,000 of revenue. And we're doing that in partnership with about 20 other organizations. So that's the kind of effort that it takes in order to pull something off like that. But small businesses in our community need the same kind of access to technical assistance that large established companies need. But unfortunately, most of them can't afford to pay for it or don't have access. Well, we bring a network of partners that really can provide that access and support. And then the last thing that I'll mention is a project that we call, it's called Project Opioid. And we know what kind of crisis this community and every community around the country is having with substance abuse and opioids and fentanyl in particular. And data suggests that we can do a lot by getting the business community involved in trying to solve this problem and using the innovation capacity and resources of the business community in ways that we historically haven't. Normally it's folks who are involved in providing clinical services and other coaching support for individuals who are dealing with it. those are the organizations that play a lead role in trying to solve these problems. And they've asked that we engage the business community. So these are initiatives that are a little bit off the beaten path for us, but they're important for this community. And frankly, we're excited to be engaged in those kind of initiatives in addition to the core economic development work that we do.
What you just said was kind of like I went to the drinking fountain for a drink of water, and you just opened up the fire hose for me. So there's so much that you do. And I want to, again, kind of go backwards so that we can go forwards. Most of the time, you've got people that are living their lives, going to work, taking care of their families, and sleeping somewhere in Miami-Dade County. It's a myopic look at the world that's really happening here. And so how do we together today kind of expand their understanding of what the Beacon Council does in interactions with private businesses, with the government, so that their lives are better? That's what I really want to bring to the forefront today, is that I'm one of those myopic people. I don't really understand how deep the Beacon Council has already affected my life and my lifestyle here. So
Yeah.
let's understand a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would probably start with our work is about more and better jobs for Miami-Dade County. And so more is easy to understand. We just want more job opportunities for the people that exist here, right? The better side of the equation really allows and should allow anyone who wants to improve their economic standing in Miami-Dade County. So when we try and target companies to go after and work with, we're looking for companies whose average wages are significantly higher than the average wage that exists in Miami-Dade County right now. So if you were to look at the data, average wages are right around $50,000 a year, slightly less for Miami-Dade County. So we're targeting companies that have job opportunities that are significantly higher than that, so we can get to that better side of the equation. So no matter what your interests are, your skill sets are, we're trying to create opportunities for you to grow and prosper. That might require you to get some training or some additional education, but we've got great institutions to provide that.
So you're talking about having your group try to rise the tides so that everybody floats a little bit higher.
Absolutely.
In this community.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a good analogy for the work that we do. And so if in fact we're successful in getting larger established companies that pay better wages, that create more opportunities, it definitely creates greater opportunities for our residents to improve. We're working with organizations. A good example, Career Source South Florida, Miami-Dade College, Beacon Council, and Bean Automotive Group recently launched an apprenticeship program. And we're just playing a role of being a convener. But the other organizations are really doing all the heavy lifting. Career Source providing funding, Bean Automotive Group providing the opportunities for apprenticeships, and the actual education and training happening via Miami-Dade College. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we're doing that's creating an opportunity for someone who's earning, say, a minimum wage to move into jobs, especially as, in this case, automotive technicians, that could pay substantially more, especially as they become more experienced. And it's those kinds of things that we get involved with that go beyond the traditional economic development work that we historically have done.
You said at the beginning that you're partnered with over 200 partners, businesses in and around the county. And so I'm trying to understand why it's good for both the Beacon Council, which I think is easy to understand, and also from the business side, why it's good for them to be partners. And it seems like that's where you're possibly able to figure out these nice little narrow avenues and paths to rise the tide and bring more jobs and higher paying jobs. Is that correct?
Yeah. So at a very high level, more people, more jobs that pay better wages, when they come into the community, there is an economic multiplier effect that happens that generally will make the county better off. So every homeowner is likely to see increasing value in their homes.
That's what my people want to hear about.
Right?
Yes.
Every auto dealer
Yeah.
Definitely wants to see more people come into the community that can afford to buy cars.
Right.
And the list goes on and on. So there's truly an economic benefit for just about everybody. And then sometimes it can become very specific to a company or to a realtor or to a developer, where there's some direct benefit that will happen. By way of example, individuals that we work with through the Community Ventures program, they are getting access to living wage jobs that would otherwise not be available to them as a result of the work that we do and the companies that we're serving. We have recruiters, executive recruiters, who are now finding opportunities to help place high value individuals with some of the companies that we work with, whether it's Blackstone or Reef Technologies and others that have recently come to the community. We help them find the key talent that they need. And in many cases, we're doing that via professional recruiters. And of course, our academic institutions also serve a significant role in helping to find the key talent that businesses need. So I could go on and on in terms of identifying the opportunities that exist for a rising tide to lift all boats. It just depends on what industry and organizations in, even the hospitality and food industry. They're going to see more folks showing up at their restaurants and hotels and everything else. So it's an amazing multiplier effect that happens when we're successful in bringing additional business to the community.
Well, I'm doing my best to kind of walk through this because there's so much to explore. But at the same time, I'm going to turn to my audience and remind them that at any time on social media channels, you're welcome to type in a question. We'll try to get that in front of Michael as we go along. And as always with my show, if you have comments or questions afterwards, please don't be shy about putting those in. We do go back from time to time and try to answer those even after the live show has long been finished. So one of the things I'd like to do is talk about what is hot right now. We're talking about small businesses and opportunities that may be down to a handful of employees kind of getting to the next level. But the two big sectors that I keep hearing about in real estate, and I know it's happening with you, are technology and the financial sector. What do you feel is coming toward us in Miami, and how is the Beacon Council kind of catching that as an opportunity and taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so through our research, we've identified 7 sectors that actually have great potential for success here in Miami-Dade County. So often we dismiss hospitality and tourism, but that's a huge industry here, and we need to make sure that we pay attention to it. Our activities are more indirect there because we rely on our partner, the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, to play the lead role in developing opportunities there. But that's a major industry. It's not going away, and we need to make sure that we do everything possible to support it. The others, though, that we do spend a lot of our time and effort on are creative design. These are things like the entertainment industry, the media, and other sectors along those lines. There is life sciences and healthcare. One of the largest sectors that we have in this county is healthcare. And it's the innovation capacity that comes out of that, where you have a clinician that develops a device or some other tool that can be used to improve patient outcomes. Those kind of innovations have huge potential for commercialization. So it's a very important sector for us. There's aerospace. I mean, we train and recertify more pilots in this community than virtually any place else in the world through training centers with Boeing and others that are located out near the airport, where they have just banks of simulators training pilots and recertifying pilots. So aerospace. And then we have incredible MRO organizations that do maintenance repair of the airlines that are here. We're very strong in trade and logistics. You think about what happens at the Port of Miami. I think it's the second largest economic driver in Miami-Dade County. And that's all about trade and logistics. And then the two that you mentioned, financial services and tech, are also just booming right now. We're seeing more financial services companies that are showing up from the Northeast, New York City, and the whole New York metro. And then we're seeing a lot of tech from the Northeast as well as from California. And all of it's very, very positive. So we've got several sectors that represent huge opportunities for our community, for the businesses that are here, for the residents who are looking for their next big time job opportunity. There's a lot that's happening that folks can take advantage of.
Just very briefly, you've mentioned a lot of opportunities, and they all seem to come from other areas of our country. Historically, Miami has been a magnet for people coming from other countries to escape a financial issue or just opportunity that is greater here than there. Has that shifted over the last couple of years to more of a inside the U.S. centric view, or where do we go and where are we now?
Well, we all know in the last couple of years, Hal, we've been dealing with COVID-19, this pandemic, and that really changed the narrative around who's coming here, And frankly, there, in some cases, even the ability to get access into this country when you start thinking about internationals. So yes, we have seen a lot more relocations from individuals inside the United States as opposed to some of the international activity that we've historically seen. The reality is most of it's coming from the Northeast, and then the second most is actually coming from California. And all of it, to a great extent, based on what's happening with COVID, where individuals, frankly, have the ability to work wherever they want. They're choosing to work from Miami. In some cases, they owned properties, vacation homes here, and they decided to come and work from their vacation home. And some of that is turning into, well, maybe if I can work from my vacation home, perhaps I should have an office there. So there's been some of that.
The vacation homes are becoming primary homes.
In many cases, that's definitely the case.
Let's go back a little bit to something that I think was on a lot of people's mind because it was in the media for quite a while. That was the opportunity that the entire country actually had to have an Amazon headquarters 2 built in their neighborhood. And the idea was lots of jobs. And I'd like to just understand kind of what your role was in trying to attract them. And, what did we learn from that? And I'm sure there are benefits from it. Obviously, we did not get, HQ2 here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's lessons learned, correct?
Yeah, so Amazon HQ2 is a project that is sort of once in your economic development career will you see something of that scale and magnitude. They were talking 50,000 jobs, building a separate headquarters, investing, I think it was, $5 or $6 billion to build it out. And you just don't, and average wages of like $150,000. So imagine 50,000 jobs at that level of compensation. It can be transformative to a community, even the size of MiamiDade.
Sure.
So, competing for that, naturally, every city of any significance throughout the United States decided to throw their hats in the ring. I think there were 238 communities altogether that submitted proposals. And ultimately, I think Amazon narrowed it down to 10 that they felt could potentially be suitable.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news was Miami was one of the finalists that was included in that group. And so, of course, we did not win it. But what we got an incredible amount of data about our region that we assembled as a result of that competition because it was so intense. And it allowed us to have a much deeper understanding of our talent pipelines and how to build out proposals that tell a story about Miami and all that it had to offer to high-tech businesses like Amazon. And while it was 4 years ago, a lot of what's happening right now, I think, is a direct result of the preparation that was done over multiple years, getting ready to be this, tech location, this financial services location. And our ability to understand, and our universities did a lot of work to prepare their students. FIU is now building out an engineering school. University of Miami did a major expansion of their engineering school. And even if we look into Broward County, the universities there, we worked with them as a part of HQ2 as well. So we learned how to work across municipal boundaries because it wasn't just a Miami focused proposal. It was a Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach focused proposal. So we learned an awful lot that we're now able to use as we try and continue to move the community forward. And as we compete for projects like Blackstone and ACI Worldwide and CI Financial and Microsoft and so many others that have now decided to locate smaller operations here, but significant operations in their own right.
So you're talking about large scale things that need a C-level person to be involved. And you obviously can wear that hat. But the organization also wears several other hats and goes all the way down to helping the average small business in Miami. There's a website, which I did a little research on, bizhelp.miami. And you're even helping people that took out loans during the COVID crisis, the PPP loans and the EIDL loans, on how to process that, ask for forgiveness. Can you tell us a little bit more about that level of the Beacon Council?
Yeah, so Beacon Council historically worked with larger established companies because it was just efficient to do that.
Yeah.
And when the COVID crisis hit, we, like everyone else, suddenly our business shut down. I mean, companies weren't knocking on the door, ringing the phones, or sending email messages. But small businesses in Miami-Dade County literally started turning to our website and looking to us to be resources to them as they were attempting to get access to some of these state and federal programs that were available. The challenge for us is that we didn't have an infrastructure within our organization to properly deal with it. So we were able to turn to some of our technology partners. And in the case of bizhelp.miami, that was done under leadership from Slalom. It's one of the recent transplants that did a location here, and now they're doing an expansion, by the way. But it was one of our projects that happened over the last couple of years, and they helped us build out bizhelp.miami. And essentially, it allowed us to aggregate all the different resources that were available to small businesses in a single location. And it also allowed us to identify, I think, roughly 40 banking institutions that were willing to take on small business clients to do their business banking for them so they could actually apply for the small business loan. And the list goes on and on. There were literally, I think, 75, 80 different programs that were available to help individuals and to help small businesses. And if you had to navigate that as a small business across, 60, 70, 80 different websites, it becomes impossible. But because we aggregated it all, it made it a little bit easier. That still wasn't enough. And so we organized a small team of our staff, given that our work had changed from a lot of large stuff to now needing to respond to these small businesses. We organized, I think, 4 of our staff, including myself, to really now figure out how to best help small businesses. And we've now created what we call our Small Business Accelerator. The idea is that we will provide customized help to small businesses that are looking for help in growing their companies and with their marketing, with access to capital, with business planning, and a whole bunch of other needs. And altogether, through surveying roughly 500 or so small businesses, we identified probably 15 different things that if we can deliver it to small businesses, their chances of growing here and adding one more job or bringing on one more customer goes up fairly dramatically. And that program is in the process of rolling out right now. We've got our first cohort of small businesses that we're working with. As I mentioned earlier, we've got about 20 different organizations that's partnering with us to make it happen. Organizations like Prospera, Chemical, and several others. And we think that it creates an amazing opportunity for small businesses to go from, a 4 or 5 person operation to maybe being a 7 to 10 person operation, from $500,000 of sales to maybe a few $1,000,000 of sales.
And that's not too small for you to be looking at today. That's one of the benefits of us going through COVID.
Well, it's one of the benefits to the community for sure. It certainly has put a lot of stress on our organization, but we've been fortunate in that we were able to get two significant sources to support us. The first was the Rockefeller Foundation. So we've got a grant from them that's allowing us to fund some of the activities because the 20 partners are not working for free, right? And we need to be able to compensate them for the outstanding work that they're doing. But we also got Bank of America to step up and to support some of the small businesses. So those two provided us with the primary funding that we needed in order to stretch our resources. And so we're appreciative of the fact that we've got good partners that are helping us move the needle on all these initiatives that we are trying to make happen.
So what you're also saying in all that is that we have world-class, deeply rooted and connected people that have been part of the Beacon Council for years that are now more accessible to the little guy like me. I'm a sole proprietor of a business, a real estate agent. That's what we are. We're individual businesses. And now we have the door open to this world-class organization where potentially you can do some real help that ultimately, longer term, you get a whole bunch of us small businesses together. You can make Miami-Dade County a better place to live.
No doubt about it, Hal. And we really are committed to it. And while before COVID, we were not a primary small business organization. Now that we are still dealing with the pandemic, we are definitely a primary resource to help small businesses. And we're not displacing anybody. We're collaborating and partnering with all the other organizations that exist. And we're trying to be an organization that can find additional resources to fund various activities that wouldn't be there before, or to design new initiatives like the Small Business Accelerator that didn't exist before, that can help all of us do better. But it's not just about businesses. We're also helping individuals, right? We've got some heart-wrenching stories about individuals who were struggling economically that are now doing well. Returning citizens, when you've
That
been
would be
incarcerated,
heartwarming, not heart wrenching, right? If they
I
work
guess
their
it would
way
be
to a good
gut
success.
wrenching,
Okay.
right? So, but individuals who were returning citizens, incarcerated, whatever happened earlier in their life, it's very difficult to recover from that. And what we're finding is that through partnerships like FIU and their construction trades industry, in partnership with Lennar, training individuals to become for the construction trades and helping them find jobs that pay $20, $25 an hour and more, very doable. So it's a wonderful partnership with organizations like JP Morgan Chase, who are actively training individuals as a part of the Community of Interest program to be customer-facing individuals within their operation, and also providing funding to make it work. And so just amazing opportunities that are surfacing. And one of the more interesting stories that just happened is that one of our new companies, Reef Technologies, a startup funded, one of the best funded startups that we have in Miami-Dade County, has recently hired a family of individuals. Hired the mom first, and the mom had several adult children. They obviously needed to, better opportunities. The mom was successful. She then recommended her sons, who also became employed. So you now have a family of four that's all earning living wages, as opposed to a family of four that was living literally in poverty. And those are the kinds of things that are happening as a result of the work that we do. So it's about individuals, it's about small business, and of course, large established companies.
I see at your smile creeping into your face as you tell this story about an individual family. Yes, you help companies with thousands of employees, but that one I could see touched you somehow. That's great.
Well, it does. In fact, one of my former bosses, he had this saying that I absolutely love, and I've really kind of taken it to be my own mantra for how I want to live as well. He says, there was a time when I wanted to make money, and then I wanted to have fun, but now I want to help others. And the reality is that you can do all three, right? I make enough money to support my family. I'm having fun, a lot of fun doing the work that I do. And I know we're helping others based on the examples that I just shared with you. So to me, it's an opportunity to do something, and the job that I have is uniquely positioned to do it. And we very much appreciate the community and trusting the resources that they do to us in order to make the kind of things happen that I'm describing.
There's another mantra that I got years ago from somebody who I worked with, who was brilliant. And he told me he was going to live for 100 years. And he had split his life up into thirds, 33 at 66, and then the rest of the years. And it was me for the first 33, we for the next 33, and they for the last 33. And it's kind of the same thing. I'm going to focus on me. Then I'm going to have a partner, and his family is what he really meant in the we section. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I'm going to help the rest of the world in some way with the talents that I have. And it sounds like the Beacon Council is a lot about the they, right?
We have to be. I mean, it really is about the community. We are a partnership that exists to support economic prosperity in Miami-Dade County. And that is as much they as it gets. And then we know who the they are because we interface with these individuals on a daily basis. We interface with the small businesses. We interface with the large established companies. We interface with elected officials, other nonprofits, and of course, private businesses.
So let's wrap up. What's the future of Miami-Dade County in the big projects? We see holes in our skyline right now, which are ready to come up out of the ground. We've seen projects over the last 3 or 4 years with big buildings that are established. I know you can't tell us everything because there's some things that you're aware of that are not public yet. But what are some of the big things, exciting things that we as residents of Miami-Dade County can be excited and looking forward to?
Well, I think the 6 sectors that I described, I just think you're going to see more of that. Still a lot of activity in financial services and tech, but you're going to see a lot in healthcare, aerospace, trade and logistics for sure, and likely in the creative design space. So these sectors that we've been working on really haven't changed very much, and we expect to see more of the same. There has been, though, a flip from the majority of the growth coming from existing companies to the majority of the growth coming from external organizations outside of Miami-Dade County that are choosing to locate here. And we're excited about that because we think it's a rapid way of growing a community. It's a rapid way of creating a tech presence or an aerospace presence or whatever that becomes universally understood around the world. And so we're on this accelerated path right now that doesn't appear to have a near-term end to it. And a lot of it will depend on what we do as a community, right? Do we continue to embrace business growth and expansion like we have up to this point? Do we make smart decisions around infrastructure and resiliency and all the other issues that can, in fact, either accelerate or slow down communities' economic prosperity? And just judging from where we sit, we really feel the community is doing the right things in order to keep moving forward. And we are optimistic about the growth. As we look at our pipeline of businesses that we work with, typically we'll have 60 to 65 prospects or projects in our pipeline. As of today, I checked, we have about 90. And so even our project pipeline is stronger, and it is about 60-40, about 60% from outside of Miami-Dade and about 40% that's local. So again, just a lot of opportunities. We're very optimistic and look forward to what's going to happen in 2022.
Thank you so much. Michael Finney with the Beacon Council. This has been an enlightening show for me. I hope for our audience it has inspired, maybe even given you some passion. Michael, how do they get in touch with the Beacon Council if they want to have a discussion and figure out how they can either help you or that you can help them?
Yeah. Best thing to do is go to our website, which is beaconcouncil.com. And there's an opportunity there to sign up for our newsletters and to also just request information. I also will give out my email address, which is M as in Michael, Finney, my last name, at beaconcouncil.com. So mfinney@beaconcouncil.com. And as an alternative, our phones are working. So even though a lot of businesses have been closed, we are in fact able to accept phone calls, and the number is 305-579-1300.
Again, Michael Finney with the Beacon Council. It has been wonderful to have you today. I appreciate it. And, I'm here for real estate dreams. The Beacon Council is here for the dreams and the future of Miami-Dade County. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Until next week, have a great week.